All right, we moved on to the wing construction, and this is again just the basic element of the wing, the skeleton structure of it. And this is the plan that shows the landing gear, retractable landing gear setup. And that's, since that's what I'm hoping to accomplish here, that's what we have. So on this plan, and again, it's a supplemental plan in the group of sheets that you get with this kit, and so you have to be very careful, even more careful than I was, when you're looking at all the different plan sheets and so forth, and you really have to make a determination of what you want to build. You know, how much of this detail you're going to incorporate, which ones, and so on. You know, before you really begin doing any layup at all. So I didn't really do that, and it's kind of. But then a lot of the way I build these is more, I guess, winging it or freelance, or you know, there's I guess the polite way is freelance, and sort of a backhanded way of saying it is yeah, I'm winging it. So that's what I'm doing. But so a number of the wing ribs, if you're going to be doing this, have to be adjusted. They have to be manipulated. They have to be carved a little bit. So that's the phase I'm in now, and I'm just going one rib at a time. So I laid in the center rib, the right and left angled ribs, and then started one at a time. I did doing each of the F3s, and then each of the F4s, and then each of the F5s. So I'm on F6 now, and so I'm just cleaning these out, cleaning out the notches. See, this one's done, and this one has yet to be done. So with the sharpest blade that you have, and typically that means a fresh one, but if you're all out of fresh blades, just use the sharpest one you've got to do this work. And you usually go through you know, you can dull out a blade tip pretty quickly doing this work. So keep a fresh one in there. You'll know when it's getting dull when you go to cut the ends of these, to cut these out, and you're actually cracking. You start noticing that you're cracking the ribs and doing more breaking than cutting. So that's when you want to switch it out, and actually before that point. All right, so all of these have been adjusted. So this is F3 here. You can see that's a pretty big notch for the wheel. As I just showed you, the wheel has to be able to come up pretty high in here. This is just a wheel half, but in order to get flush with the underside. And again, I'm going to be augmenting the underside of this wing. This is a flat bottom wing that Guillow has made, but the actual P-47 has an airfoil shape on both the top and the bottom. It's not a flat bottom wing. So what I'll be doing is, after all of this is laid up, and before the bottom stringers go in, I'll be laying on just a 1/16 stringer rail to the underside of each of these ribs, just cutting them away where they're notched, and then sanding, sort of a rounding up at the front, and shaving up toward the trailing edge in the back, just to try to achieve a sort of a roundness. And that may lead to having as many as 2 1/16 strips added on the bottom. So in some cases towards the wing root, they might be, you know, 1/8 inch thickness added to the bottom, and then 1/16 out to the tip. It just depends on what I'm looking at as I'm doing that work, and how that's faring. So anyway, there's that. So anyway, okay, so getting back to the cutouts. So these have to be notched and cut out for the wheel and for the landing gear legs. And then this is the F6 is the last one to get notched. And all of these 4 ribs in here have to be sliced, because I'm doing the functioning landing flaps, the functioning wing flaps. I'm going to have those movable, posable, as it were. But in addition, I'm going to actually link them so that when you move one, they both move in unison, and that'll just be an axle through here, just a length of piano wire, probably shooting through that plastic tubing, the evergreen tubing. So I'll just drill these out in a line, shove the evergreen tubing through, run the piano wire through that, and attach the piano wire and end of the piano wire to each corner of the flap so that they can move in unison. And that's probably well, that's it for what I'm doing on the wings. So the real crux of this, getting this to work at all, is getting these wires bent correctly. And so what I want to do is, before I start bending wire, I want to have the wings made, and have the stringers already on them, at least on the top. The bottom stringers probably not, because I'll need to get access under here to be able to loop these, run these through, and get them installed. I'm still not, I'm a little concerned about how that's going to go, and if it looks like it's not going to happen with that crazy bend and getting those installed through a wing that's been strung, what I might just do is forgo the whole thing and just put rollers here, like I did with the P-40, just a length of wood dowel anchored at both ends, with an axle through the middle, and then drilled out for the landing gear leg, and then that whole roller would just, the wheels would just roll up and down. I'd have to figure out another method of locking them down. I don't know if I could run a wire out of one corner of it and still trap that wire with the machine gun pin with their mechanism for locking. That's a possibility. So there's a lot of stuff going on here in my head as I'm doing this, and I am more or less winging it. As I work on these and hollowing these out, this needs to be done, whether it's done now or after the fact. It's easier now than it would be to come back later and try to carve out wheel wells into the wing. But I've done that before, and it can be done. It's just, a little bit more problematic and time consuming. So we'll do it this way. I'm right now in the process of putting together wing rib number 6. So it has to be sliced through here, notched on either side for the stringers that bound it on either side, boundary, on the wing boundary, and then there's the flap boundary. So that's what I'm working on now, and then this notch here, and then after that, it looks like number 7 just gets this cut here, and that's this one, and then 8 is continuous. There's an 8A on this sheet that finishes off the ends of each end of the flap. So the last one I'll have to doctor in any way is going to be 7. So 6 and 7 is what we're doing here, and then running them out to the ends. Aside from that, there's not really anything to see. I could, put the camera up and just run it until we get to our 18 minutes of glory, or whatever it is that this thing shuts down at, but I think I'll just shut it off here and then start another video just with the work that's happening here. Okay, let's do that. All right, everybody, thanks for watching.